Casualty lists in U.S. newspapers would cause a helpful wave of indignation. Number 4, we could develop a communist terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even Washington, D.C. Sound like September 11th, anyone? The terror campaign could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the U.S. They could talk about sinking a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated. Foster attempts on the lives of Cuban refugees in the U.S., even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized. Wow. Exploding a few plastic bombs in carefully chosen spots, the arrest of Cuban agents, and the release of prepared documents substantiating Cuban involvement would also be helpful in projecting the idea of irresponsible government. Number 5, it talks about Cuban-based Castro-supported filibuster could be stimulated against a neighboring Caribbean nation in the vein of the 14th of June invasion of the Dominican Republic. It says, we know that Castro is backing subversive efforts clandestinely against Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Nicaragua at present, and possible others. These efforts can be magnified and additional ones can be contrived for exposure. For example, advantage can be taken of the sensitivity of the Dominican Air Force to intrusions within their national airspace. Cuban B-26 or C-46 type aircraft could make cane-burning raids at night. Soviet bloc incendiaries could be found. This could be coupled with Cuban messages to the communist underground in the Dominican Republic and Cuban shipments of arms which could be found intercepted on the beach. The use of MiG-type aircraft by U.S. pilots could provide additional provocation, harassment of civil air, attacks on surface shipping, and the destruction of U.S. military drone aircraft by MiG-type airplanes would be useful as complementary actions. Wow. And it talks about how they could actually modify U.S. aircraft to look like MiGs or obtain MiG-type aircraft. And it gives a time frame that they could accomplish that in about 3 months. Then it talks about hijacking attempts against civil aircraft that would look to be condoned by the government of Cuba. Concurrently, genuine defections of Cuban and military air and surface craft should be encouraged. It is possible to create an incident which will demonstrate convincingly that a Cuban aircraft has attacked and shot down a chartered civil airline en route from the United States to the Jamaica, Guatemala, Panama, or Venezuela. The destination would be chosen only to cause the flight plan route to cross Cuba. The passengers could be a group of college students off on a holiday or any grouping of persons with the common interest to support chartering a non-scheduled flight. Here's how that portion of the plan would break down. What they would do is an aircraft at Eglin Air Force Base would be painted and numbered as an exact duplicate for a civil registered aircraft belonging to a CIA proprietary or front organization in the Miami area. At a designated time, the duplicate aircraft would be substituted for the actual civil aircraft and would be loaded with the selected passengers, all boarded under carefully prepared aliases. The actual registered aircraft would be converted to a drone. Takeoff times of the drone aircraft and the actual aircraft will be scheduled to allow a rendezvous south of Florida. From the rendezvous point, the passenger-carrying aircraft will descend to minimum altitude and go directly into an auxiliary field at Eglin Air Force Base, where arrangements will have been made to evacuate the passengers and to return the aircraft to its original status. The drone aircraft, meanwhile, will continue to fly the filed flight plan. When over Cuba, the drone will begin transmitting on the international distress frequency a Mayday message stating it is under attack by Cuban MiG aircraft. The transmission will be interrupted by the destruction of the aircraft, which will be triggered by radio signal. Either going to blow up the plane by radio. This will allow ICAO radio stations in the Western Hemisphere to tell the U.S. what has happened to the aircraft instead of the U.S. trying to sell the incident. It is possible to make it appear to create an incident that will make it appear that communist Cuban MiGs have destroyed a U.S. Air Force aircraft over international waters in an unprovoked attack. And basically, they talk about approximately 4 or 5 F-101 aircraft will be dispatched in trail from Homestead Air Force Base in Florida to the vicinity of Cuba. Their mission will be to reverse course and simulate Faker aircraft for an air defense exercise in southern Florida. All right? These aircraft would conduct variations of these flights at frequent intervals. Crews would be briefed to remain at least 12 miles off the Cuban coast. However, they would be required to carry live ammunition in the event that hostile actions were taken by the Cuban MiG. On one such flight, a pre-briefed pilot would fly tail end Charlie at considerable interval between aircraft. While near the Cuban island, the pilot would broadcast that he had been jumped by MiGs and was going down. No other calls would be made. The pilot would then fly directly west at extremely low altitude and land at a secure base, an Eglin auxiliary. The aircraft would be met by the proper people, quickly stored and given a new tail number. The pilot who had performed the mission under an alias would resume his proper identity and return to his normal place of business. The pilot and aircraft would then have disappeared. At precisely the same time, the aircraft was presumably shot down. A submarine or small surface aircraft would disperse F-101 parts, parachutes, etc. at approximately 15 to 20 miles off the Cuban coast and depart. The pilots returning to Homestead would have a true story as far as they knew. Search ships and aircrafts could be dispatched and parts of the aircraft found. Now, i.e., they've even people, and some of their own people wouldn't even know. But, of course, we know this plan did not 100% come to fruition. Now, I didn't share this with you just merely to inform you that government subterfuge and surreptitious activities, nefarious or otherwise, to project a political aim, is nothing new. I didn't merely do it to that. I did it to share with you that the whole concept of using fear or to shape people opinions, perceptions of something is nothing new. Okay? It didn't just start with September 11th. And the whole reason for that even happening is to keep you in that state of fear, because you know what happens when people are afraid? They don't think. Okay? And because most people are familiar with movies, I'll use an example. If you watch horror movies, okay, when a character gets scared, if you watch, you notice they can't perform the most basic of tasks. Includes dialing a phone, opening a door, putting keys in a ignition, running. They always fall down because when you're in a state of fear, you don't think about certain things that would normally be like, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. So how does that relate to our overall living here, where we're constantly under fear? I mean, think about it. We're told, I'm going to start at smaller examples and go back to my point. But we're always told that the police are helping us. But after you watch this video and you're on your way somewhere and the police pull behind you, do you feel that they're there to help you? Or do you immediately feel some apprehension? If those lights come on, do you feel that they're trying to help you? Or do you feel some type of fear? Okay,